And now for the conclusion of the legend of the Jackal. As the Jackal began his descent down the stairs, he began his taunting. You just had to stay in London. You couldn't just go home to Blackstone and forget about this, could you? As he stood on the final step at the bottom of the cellar, the gray abomination spoke his final threat to Alder. I guess I'm just going to have to kill you too. As the last of the Jackal's words decayed from his mouth, in its sick and dusty manner, Alder fired a pistol into the heart of the skeleton's chest. It had no effect on him, but it did alert the two men across the street to set the next stage of the plan and put it into motion. The Jackal leaped for Alder. Alder tried to move, but the Jackal was just too fast. Alder's head smacked the hard concrete floor of the cellar. He could feel the blood already soaking through his hair. He wanted to pass out, but instead grabbed at the Jackal's throat to hold the Jackal at bay. The ashy gray monstrosity was snapping just inches from Alder's face and throat. Alder was barely able to hold the beast at bay. Alder was just about to give up when all of a sudden there was an unseen force that knocked the Jackal over. It was Detective Holland. He had hit the beast with a club. Unfortunately, the Jackal's heightened sense of balance and great agility made it easy for the monster to stand right back up. The Jackal was ready to pounce once again. He was halted, however, by the sound of the cellar door closing. He could hear Constable Hopkins boarding the men up inside the room. The Jackal quickly diverted his attention back to the detective. He made a quick leap to the detective's side. Alder thought the Jackal had missed. Detective Holland was not so fortunate, however. The Jackal had moved so fast, he had clawed a deep gash into Holland's chest, using those skeleton-like fingers. Bryce looked down to see the blood running down his chest and on his stomach. He then felt a dizzying sickness, as if his feet were leaving the ground. He couldn't feel the floor and struggled to get his footing. That's when he noticed he had been picked up by his assailant. Before he could fight back, he was hurled into the furthest wall. Jack had had enough of the detective's interference. He went to make his way over to the detective's limp body, but was intercepted by Alder. Alder had the element of surprise and great momentum behind him. He tackled Jack to the floor. Jack was caught completely off guard. The two of them hit the floor and the Jackal's head was thrown back. Alder sprung at the opportunity. He bit down as hard as he could into the throat area of the unsuspecting villain. Once he felt that he had a good grip, he began to shake violently until a huge chunk of the Jackal's throat was torn away. The taste of that much blood made Alder feel as if he was going to be sick. He toughed it out and did what he had to do. He swallowed hard and instantly fell to the floor. Both Jack and Alder were lying on the floor, writhing in agony. Jack was dying, while Alder was taking on the curse. Jack's skin began to flake away and crumble. Meanwhile, Alder was bent over, clutching at his stomach. He felt a hunger he had never felt before, and he feared he would soon give in to it. Bryce had managed to pull himself back up and was making his way over to Alder. Alder was a sad sight. The hunger was really working him over. Alder didn't see how Jack had learned to live with it for so long. Detective Holland was not looking much better himself. He had lost a lot of blood and was still bleeding. He tried to inspect his wounds a bit more, but turned dreadfully ill when he thought that he could see his own chest plate. "Don't worry, Mr. Devlin," Bryce gasped. "I brought a backup plan." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a stick of dynamite and a box of matches. Detective Bryce Holland could tell by the anguished screams coming from Alder that this was not the time for long goodbyes. He lit a match and stuck it to the fuse. He sat the stick of dynamite between himself and Alder. As he watched the fuse burn down, he swore that amidst Alder's screams of torment, he heard him say thank you. There was a loud explosion, and then there was nothing. Alder had closed his eyes in the last moments before the explosion. He had known pain and numbness his entire life. Each second of his life was filled with a discontent for the hand fate had dealt. He had searched his entire life for peace. Fancy he should find it now in death. Thank you.